Have you ever made a song that was so sad that you thought, it's too sad actually?
I mean, yeah, but I've put them out.
So the new Phoebe Bridgers album, Lost Weekend, is a big album. In the context of this release, though, I wanted to talk about the phenomena of Phoebe Bridgers and how I feel like her scene is really, really, really boring. I went into this album thinking that it would be very similar to her older stuff, and in many ways it is. It is so maximalistic and filled with so many nuggets, despite not really being that innovative or creative for her style. When we look up to artists like Phoebe Bridgers, it in the alternative space and in the indie space, it leads to a lot of really, really, really boring underground music. I mean, sure, if you want to make this atmospheric, like Bon Iver thing that Phoebe is going for on this album, that's as far as it goes. And the other lane is like the Mk.gee indie lane, which is like actually lo-fi. And I feel like nobody has really made an effort to upgrade this scene or this sound since Mk.gee did it 10 years ago. This Lost Boy single, like, it's basically country music. It's basically country music. So it just feels super mainstream. It reminds me of Geese's song Islands of Men, which I feel makes similar commentary about like young men from a sort of alternative, liberal, sort of cool alternative perspective. But what Phoebe and people in her scene bring to the table is this queer personality and brand around the music, which is fine. Like, you can take a style that is quite derivative and then just add your own personality to it, which is exactly what Gracie Abrams failed to do. Never been a big Gracie Abrams fan, and I have nothing against her being a Nepo baby, but in her case, like, being the Nepo baby she is just works against her, both because people dislike her image for it and also because her music just suffers from like her personality not really being there that much. Indie in general has been suffering from this, like just completely glorifying Weezer and completely glorifying like the 90s in a way that just makes people not take risks. And I just don't really see the interest in like rehashing something from 3 generations ago and just repackaging it for like rich alt girlies. It's very backwards looking and it's almost weirdly conservative. Mk.gee ironically is producing a lot on this album, which is really cool. I love Mk.gee. I was listening to the Shin's new slang the other day, and I don't feel like indie music has really developed that much since then, and that's like an all-time banger. And it neither has developed on Mk.gee's like lo-fi vibes by going fully on Daniel Johnston. Like, I feel like rappers do this more. Like Young Lean did that on his latest album, and it doesn't develop on Elliott Smith's like songwriting sophistication either. So it's like a dead end on so many levels. But yeah, I'll have to listen more to this album. It might be like some sort of maximalist like masterpiece for Phoebe Bridgers. It's interesting how this like fake performative catharticness resonates in the current time and the current meta, because we live in a political time that is very nihilistic, similar to the mid 2010s when Trump got elected, where the answer I feel like culturally was like post bling rap, mumble rap, almost dada, like abstract takes on taking drugs and lean and all this stuff. And now it's like the reaction is much, much, much more serious, and that nihilistic element appears a bit more in the pop space and the pop girly space. Again, I feel like the pop girlies are just doing so much better than the guys in the pop space, but then in the indie space, some of these guys are just like completely blowing these fake indie alt girlies out of the water. I wish I had more girls to choose from, but I'm going to pick from the guys. MJ Lenderman is somebody who takes the indie thing and does it with a bit of a more personal take on it, both from a music composition perspective and a guitar playing perspective. But although I think his band Wednesday is much, much, much more boring in my personal opinion. I even will put Mk.gee in this like boring music aspect, although he also brings his own edge to it. I was never a big Mk.gee fan. I'd rate Dijon much higher, but it's more R&B and more post R&B, of course. But even Mk.gee, I think, is kind of boring in the way, in this context of like the underground sucking and just prioritizing music and easy listening as opposed to doing something more abrasive or even something not even subversive, but just something that says something and is more interested in having a message, which I think pop artists on the big stages do better right now. And I feel the same way about other artists who are like band and real instrument driven. You know, bands like Men I Trust, Khruangbin, even Jungle. Like, it's just so like bland and it's so popular, and it's maybe a TikTokification effect. I have nothing against TikTok as a platform, and I don't really have anything against this music from a cultural perspective, but from a musical perspective, like easy listening music and like Muzak is just so popular and just considered in some ways highbrow. But I wish there was a bit more hate and a bit more cultural, like, yo, this is whack. Like, you guys are not doing anything interesting. You're not saying anything with your music. Which again, weirdly enough, the pop, like the huge major establishment pop acts do that more these days in a weird way. Artists like Phoebe Bridgers and artists like Man I Trust and Khruangbin, their music glorifies this like very basic aesthetic musically, and it's very conservative. It glorifies the past in many ways. I hope this will be met with some sort of reaction from the underground, with more abrasiveness and a bit more competitiveness almost. So yeah, I'm gonna let this Phoebe Bridgers album simmer a little bit more, but I wanted to talk about how that album and her artistry speaks to a larger trend that I don't really like in general in music right now.